chanting for the vice president to be hung.
Let's bring in former aide to the George W. Bush White House and State Department's Elise Jordan, host of the podcast On Brand with Donnie Deutsch, NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss, and professor in law at Georgetown University, Paul Butler. He is a former federal prosecutor. Michael Beschloss, we'll start with you. How historic is this?
This is about as historic as it gets. You have to look, I've spent a lot of time looking at a lot of testimony by all sorts of people before Congress complaining about things that presidents have done. I don't know of anything more shocking than what I heard yesterday, and I think it's going to change history because I can't see how this does not compel Mark Meadows and others around Donald Trump to testify. And what are they going to show? What they're going to show is this. Let me introduce something new, a historic moment. March 1, 1954. That was a moment that 4 Puerto Rican nationalist terrorists went into the galleries of the House chamber, same House chamber we're talking about on the 6th of January. Not much security in those days, nothing like magnetometers. They walked in, they had handguns, they started shooting up the chamber. They did not kill, they wounded 5 members of Congress. This was a terrorist incident. I don't think Donald Trump knew that history, but there's every sign now that that's the kind of scene that he wanted on the 6th of January, because if you've got Trump giving that provocative speech on the ellipse, and now thanks to what we heard from our testimony yesterday, saying take down the magnetometers, let people with all sorts of guns and other weapons roam wild and march up to the Capitol, what else would he have had in mind? We could have seen a scene where they would have gone into the House chamber, shot all sorts of members of Congress who were on the House floor. We know that they were running after the office of Nancy Pelosi, other members of Congress. They were screaming, hang Mike Pence. There was a gallows outside, don't know who put it up. But there's every sign now, the evidence is pointing to Donald Trump at the centerpiece of a plot to take down our democracy and stop the peaceful transfer of power, which would have destroyed our democracy, central democratic tradition, and you could have had a mass assassination. Mitt Romney had to go running away from these people who were invading the Capitol. That's what we could have seen, and it all goes back to what Donald Trump was doing in the West Wing on the 6th of January.
So, Michael, let me also take you back to another day on Capitol Hill. In the 1950s. It was on June the 1st, 1950. Margaret Chase Smith nervously waits outside, about to go in and speak in the Senate chamber. Joe McCarthy, just 4 months earlier, had started his witch hunt against Americans, claiming that they were communists. And McCarthy cornered her and said, I hear you're going to give a speech. She nervously said, I am, and you're not going to like it. She went out and she delivered her declaration of a conscience speech. And really, we had then, like we have now, we had a woman willing to step forward, make a courageous stand when all the men around her were cowards. It's just remarkable. And what is so remarkable is even Dwight Eisenhower would not stand up for his mentor, General George Marshall, when Marshall got attacked by McCarthy. But Margaret Chase Smith, the only woman who was a United States Senator at the time in 1950, would do it. And here we have a 25-year-old woman who's worked for Ted Cruz, who's worked for Steve Scalise, who's worked for some of the most conservative pro-Trump Republicans on Capitol Hill, having the courage to step forward, tell the truth, and do what all of the cowardly men around her would not do.
Right. And look at the contrast between her, this brave woman whom our children and grandchildren, they will know her name. And they have to honor her for what she did yesterday. She was the one person who stood up to these people and said, this is what really happened. And contrast what was done yesterday with another date, Joe, and that is January 28th, 2021. 8 days after Donald Trump left office, having done all of this, when the country needed an eminent Republican to stand up and say, you know, whatever you may think of his policies, this is someone who was in bed with domestic terrorists who wanted to destroy our democracy. Instead, what happened was 8 days after Trump leaves office, Kevin McCarthy flies down to Palm Beach, goes into the throne room at Mar-a-Lago, and figuratively crawls to Donald Trump, has his picture taken side by side, smiling, and basically said, Donald Trump is welcomed back into the heart of the Republican Party. And ever since then, Trump's influence has, rather than shrunk, which it should have done, rather than him being pursued for what he did on the 6th of January, Trumpism has metastasized. And one reason is that Hitler and Chamberlain Munich-like photograph of McCarthy and Trump. Remember that date, January 28th, 2021. If you had had a strong woman standing up then, everything might have been different since then.